Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Naked with Dr. Money. I'm Dr. Stephanie Ardrey, your weekly host, and each week I invite a guest and I discuss from our perspective our mindset, our motivations, and our manifestations along our journey. Because all of you know, all of you experience that life is really a journey. And if we were thinking of it in the context of a race, it's not a sprint. It really is a marathon. Now, some of you might be asking why my face is so bland. Um, it's on purpose. I did a treatment over the weekend and I can't put any makeup on my face. So while I heal from this skin treatment, I will be a little bit bland. But that's also this whole process of, if you will, naked with Dr. Money. And so the idea behind this vlog was, since I'm in the wellness business where I'm telling you all that there is a way to manage your mind, body, and soul and live full life, which is 120 years and beyond. And some of you respond to me with things like, I'm a mom, I have a career, I'm an entrepreneur, I have all of these commitments. I don't see how I could possibly do these things that you're telling me that I can do. So I said, okay, I'm all of those things, or many of those things that you've described. It would be beneficial then for me to give you a behind the scenes look at how I manage my mind, body, and soul while doing all of these other things. Maybe I can show you better than I can tell you. So by allowing you to have this opportunity to share with me, this journey, then you'll understand, what it looks like, how I fit it in. Because it doesn't mean that all the time I'm 100% in all of my efforts. What that means is, for example, I consume a very different nutritional plan when I'm in Jamaica than I do when I'm in the US. A lot of it has to do with what I'm able to have access to. I don't have access to the same things in the US that I do when I'm in Jamaica. So as a result of that, my body feels different and performs different between the two places. When I am in Jamaica, I see the difference. My energy is through the roof. The work that I'm doing, the toning, the strengthening, like it's magical, right? And then when I come back to the US, I'm trying to figure out how I can maintain that, when I lose some of those things, like instead of being able to run on the beach barefoot in the morning, I might have to adapt to running on a track field, or running on a baseball diamond, or running on a treadmill. Ha, that sounds exciting. Kind of doesn't really mesh up. It doesn't compare. So it's important that, of course, since I can't have the, well, I won't say can't, because I'm working to be able to do this, where I can live at any of these islands that we're working on developing year round. So I will always have an opportunity to have a beachfront, or, some way of grounding, running around. Easily available. And you too will be able to enjoy all of our particular locations around the world. So someone else was asking me, that they really didn't understand um, the thought process behind why mindset would be a particular focal point. And what I was sharing is what I realized, although I've had a clear business interest along my journey. Some of you probably have heard the story before. My new friends, you may not have, but I was one of those precocious young persons that was fascinated about business. In fact, funny true story. Yesterday, I was auditioning to be a speaker at my upcoming graduation from law school. And so I decided to kind of use a reflective approach where I recapped, like my so called journey and realized when my journey truly began. And I started laughing because I really started showing interest in the legal field when I was about 7, and it was because we had this set of legal code books that I think they date back to, like, the 1800s. Actually, I still have them, they're collectors, right? And I used to read the, corporate, law, corporate code section of that when I was, like, 6 and 7, right? Just because it was there, it was something I was prone to do, right? So then later, like 20 something years later, when I still hadn't gone to law school, but I was still contemplating, when I was gonna make it happen, one of my girlfriends was working and this company was getting rid of their code books. They were updating. And she said, Stephanie could probably use those. So I'm gonna get these code books for her. And I have said, you know what? I still have them. I've been moving them all around, or whatever, whatever. So to finally have, gone to and graduated from law school, what basically started over 40 something years ago, right? So here's the thing. What kind of mindset must one have to be willing to play a long game to a commitment that they've made? Think about that. Because if you think about that, you will realize that it's about mindset. The commitments that you made very early along your journey, I always tell people, go back and think about the commitments that you made when you were about 8 years old. What were the things that you played? You know, I'm glad that I'm not connected with some of my childhood friends because they would tell you, well, they would probably tell you, we used to rotate who could be the teacher because we would play school. I would play business by myself, and, I would also perform because I was a performer too. I played piano and violin, and I was a dancer. I was a dancer before I was anything else. I was dancing in my high chair, so, yes, I'm always dancing. It's my happy place. But anyway, but my friends would be so mad at me because when it was my turn to be the teacher, when we were playing school, they were like, "Oh, she's gonna make us learn something today for real. We're supposed to be playing, but she's always taking this stuff serious because I was about teaching. It's like you have to learn something." And I always had a book. In fact, my grandmother made sure I had a pocketbook because I always had a book wherever we were going, and but that's what I was exposed to. My grandmother said she had less than a third grade education in terms of a formalized education, but she bought books and she read books. And so she augmented, her so-called formal education by her own interest. So I was raised in an environment where I had an abundance. I had a library. And so, I always wanted to have and continue to have a library. Trust me, the movers who have had to move me anywhere, that is what they were like, "Man, I mean, like, you have like hundreds and hundreds of boxes of book boxes. This is like insane." It's like, yeah. And my son is like, "What to do?" I'm like, "Son, when I'm not here any longer, my foundation will house and maintain my library. That is a thing. That is a thing with me, right?" But anyway, back to the point. Mindset. So what I realized very early on that it was important to not only just develop my skill set in the particular area of my interest. So my early career started, I was in the advertising and marketing communications industry, but I was a strategist, meaning that my company was hired to solve business problems. And I remember very early on in my career, sort of being frustrated about that. I'm like, why do I get all these problems that I have to solve? Not realizing the beauty in having my mind be refined as a problem solver to business problems, right? That is what has been part of the brilliance that I've been able to carry with me because I've had to audit every sector at some point. So I don't have to be the expert in every sector, but I know how to audit and identify the problems that then need to be solved in those sectors. Because every business has to address who are their customers, what is their internal capacity, and how are they going to capitalize their existence. There's not one business that can exist without solving something within those three buckets. And that's what I'm a master of. So that's the difference. Well, anyway, so I a little bit digress. So in that whole working with these clients, though, because I started off there very early in my career, that I began to advance. I advanced professionally based on my expertise and my experience, but I didn't meet what they said were the standards of the day, meaning that all I had was an Associate of Arts degree from the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. And so they said that I was doing work at a level that required a different level of degree for it to be valid. Yet we tracked everything because the numbers don't lie. So that is why I had the audacity to then, when I completed my doctorate of business administration degree, international business, and the doctoral dissertation on venture capital, which is money, why I had the audacity to call myself Dr. Money, because I earned it. But more importantly, because I have kept financial records over the years of the clients, the problems that I solved, because they only evaluated my performance based on did I make them more money or not? And I know that I have. So, because I have the data, it's not about an opinion, right? Because people will turn their opinion on you based on a whim, but I have the data. So that doesn't turn based on a whim. The data is the data. So, what I realized though was that along this journey, so then from advertising, marketing, communications into real estate development, and why that? Because again, every space that I've entered, I've played a long game. So people are asking me, well, why would you be doing wellness resorts now? And I said, well, actually, I started this idea behind developing wellness resorts when I was actually about 19 or 20 years old. I worked for a resort hotel up in the Bay Area, and they were one of the early investors in this new thing called a spa. There was a time that spas didn't exist in organizations, but now they do, right? And so as a result of that, I back then was introduced to this idea of having a spa in your property. But I also had been introduced to this idea of being well. And so, the wellness is really built around mindset. Because when we talk about the end game of where, disease and all of those things, we can't get people past their diseases and their illnesses. We can't get people to succeed in their business. We can't get people to excel in their relationships. If it is, we can't go back and unpack the mindset. So we have to go all the way back to what's the root cause, right? So interesting enough. And then also, as you've developed yourself, which, as I said, as I've worked to develop myself along this journey, I knew that I had to develop my mindset because some of the things that I was seeing and suggesting were from my lens. And that lens wasn't often shared by others because I'm a visionary. So I could see things that they couldn't see. So I was always getting sort of pushback on my ideas. And if I didn't develop my mindset, then I would have never learned to trust that what I was seeing was accurate, even if I saw it and no one else saw it. Now I'm able to easily articulate the same that when the Almighty and the ancestors tell me what to do, they told me. It wasn't a conference call. So the rest of you are not in on it. So you wouldn't know, right? So I had to trust my mindset. But anyway, guys, I have had the pleasure of sharing this idea because we're working on a Twitting City tour where I'm going to be coming to your town. Naked with Dr. Money is coming on tour. And what we're going to be doing on this tour, it's about the self-love tour, part 1, healing through forgiveness. And so when I started sharing this concept, this idea, I had the pleasure of meeting an awesome sister, Miss Pamela Marshall. This sister's bad. She's just bad. There's just nothing else that I can say about it. She's just bad. And so she said, "Hey, how about we kind of do this tour from a perspective of a fireside chat and a conversation?" And I said, "Yes, let's do that." And so today, guys, we are going to introduce you to the beginning of that conversation. And so, without any further ado, I am going to bring on my sister, Miss Pamela Marshall. Hey, beautiful lady.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent, excellent, excellent. As you can, I'm here at Starbucks. Can you smell the aroma?
Man, I'm trying not to. I
And
try my best not to go to Starbucks except for when I'm traveling, right? Because I don't want all those extra calories on a regular basis.
well, yeah, I completely understand that. And I was sitting outside, but they have the fans going.
Sure.
So fans interfere with the frequency, the internet
Got it.
frequency.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
you were freezing, and I wanted to make sure that we didn't have any interruptions. So I came inside. I hope it's not too noisy.
No, we're doing good. We're doing good. And so what I was explaining is that one, I want to go back and kind of touch on your background and why this whole Naked with Dr. Money tour with this, self-love, starting with healing part 1, forgiveness, and why, that resonated so much with you as well, for us to be able to have that conversation and take it around the country and the world to heal people to begin that healing journey. But before we jump into that part of the conversation, why don't you share with folks a little bit about forgiveness and why we know you're somebody that we should listen to when we talk about forgiveness.
Dr. Stephanie, thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of your platform and sharing with your audience. Because this message that you're talking about, this wealth and health, forgiveness is an emotional component of this journey. So we see all of the physical, and with the help of the work that you're doing, the work that we will be able to do together, we're going to talk about the spiritual part. And you're not in the abundance that you could be in if the spiritual part is not in alignment. And I know that forgiveness is the final exam of this journey. I believe that with my whole heart. And the Creator and the ancestors haven't told me any different. Because peace should be our destination every day. And the only way that we can be in a place of peace is that we've released all of the negative energy that we have attached ourselves to as a result of the other disturbed humans that we come in contact with. And if
And
you
that,
don't,
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
no, and if we don't understand that, if we don't understand that I just bumped into a disturbed human, and if you don't understand that part, then you take it personal. You think they did something to you. They didn't do anything to you.
You're not on their radar if it be true. They're not even, they're in their own world, right? Because typically people are projecting, people are so self-consumed that they're in their own little coma about themselves,
Well,
right?
in the book, The Art of Forgiveness, And it is one of the most, if not, I believe that this is going to go down as the most powerful book ever written on forgiveness, because it really, I got downloads from the creator. I was just like, the the God that gave Solomon wisdom didn't stop giving Solomon wisdom. Why,
Exactly.
we're so busy praising Solomon. I want mine.
Right. But see, the thing is that people don't, they turn their brains off and they don't connect. They don't connect to source. And that's
Yeah,
really why. And when we say the healing has to happen mind, body, and soul, is people don't realize your mind, your body, and your soul are all ill right now. You
yeah,
need
yeah,
you need to come so that we can help you realize that. Because when we snap you out of the coma that you're in, then you begin to wake up and realize that, oh my God, I have literally been in this in some kind of coma, zombie
yeah.
mode, and not connected to source. Therefore, you know, all jacked up.
Because we have fallen prey to the commercialism of this journey. What
Ah,
is this stuff? What is this stuff I see? What are these trinkets that you dangle in front of me?
right.
What do you mean you're not going to give me roses? Oh, that's okay. You only have a dozen anyway. My creator has all of them. Yeah. Why would I be upset that somebody doesn't give me a dozen roses? When the creator that I serve has all of them. As a matter of fact, not only the flowers, but the scripture says the cattle on 1,000 hills
Absolutely.
belong to my creator. So I know there's a herd with my name on them.
Exactly. Exactly. Your blessings are your blessings, just like your individual fingerprints. But the
And
problem is you're not making your blessings show up because of your mindset, your thought process.
not
What
only
is it
that,
that you're feeding your mind?
what you're teaching about being physically healthy. Someone was pointing out to me, and I don't know who the entertainer is that goes to the basketball games, and she is inappropriately dressed, and she sits on the sidelines and she makes the news. I don't even know who it is, but they were just telling me about it, and they said, "Well, she's just embracing who she is." I said, "No, that's not who the Creator made her to be. The Creator made us to be whole, powerful, and strong. And when we put things in our bodies that's contradictory to that, how are your blessings going to find you when you don't even look like what the Creator made?"
Oh, wow. Well, that's a whole topic unto itself. That that listen, Miss Marshall, I'm telling you, I almost got in trouble when I went down that road. So I'm gonna graciously, I'm gonna graciously step out of that one right now.
How? How? Your
I
blessings are chasing who down? Well, you don't look like what the Creator made you to be. You're not living in the wholeness that the Creator made you to be. And it's
yeah,
available to you at moment's notice.
exactly. And so that's really what, with the 420 beauty day land, this idea of recognizing beauty inside out and understanding that it is about the mind, body, and soul that produces that particular outcome,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and that it's accessible.
Yeah.
Because once you start to affect all those things, then all of those things become affected.
Do you know how many billions of dollars have been spent on understanding the human psyche? And it's been spent because that's what they use to, that information gathered is how they decide to market to you. There was a
Absolutely.
lot of money spent deciding on this logo for this restaurant that I'm currently
Absolutely.
in. And
No,
how,
before you came on, it's so funny. I was just saying that. And here's the funny thing about this. I, on my flight back from Burbank, met a young man that worked at the Census Bureau in IT department. And I was sharing with him how funny when I first started my advertising agency, I went to the Census Bureau and checked out data because I was on the forefront of multiculturalism. Before that existed, I was one of the early, you know, uh, CEOs saw that as an opportunity. But there
early adopters.
early early adopter. So I needed to create a database to show where the African American consumer market was, who they were, the lifestyles and all that stuff. And the census had all that data, right? But they don't loan their data out. But they were so impressed that I actually was curious about the data that they allowed me to borrow the data to create my database.
Wow.
In the day. Exactly. And he was like, that is fascinating. And I said, exactly, that is the truth. But to your point, people don't seem to understand the level of understanding about them that yes, we data, why the data is important. And so before you came on today, I was talking about people asking me the reason I'd have the audacity to call myself Dr. Money. It's like, no, it was a play on a few things, but the bottom line is across my career, how I've evaluated my performance has been about the performance of the organizations that I've been affiliated with. And they've all made money. And it ain't my
Yeah.
opinion because we track the data. So I apologize. So continue your thought. I
No,
fill in connections.
no, but that data is based on patterns,
Yes.
and then they figured out how the mind works and what repetitiveness does. Even as we look at entertainment, what makes money in this country? Healthcare and the prison system. So what do? They advertise the things that taste good, that feel good, that makes you want to do things. And then all of those things lead you to somebody's doctor's office, somebody's surgery room, or to the prison system. And it's very ingenious. And we're going along every day, not noticing it because we're so busy. We're so
On the
busy following
treadmill.
the trinkets.
On the treadmill. On the
Yeah,
treadmill.
yeah,
And
following the
that's why
trinkets.
when you pause, when you have a pause, when you disrupt that flow, it's you can't do it until you disrupt that flow. That's why we have to do an all-in attack. No,
That's
we
right.
can't cure you from your illness in a week. We're not promising to cure you.
Right.
We're just promising to jolt you and start you. You're going to
Well,
have to continue along the journey. You're going to have to realize that once you wake up, what feeling really woken up is about. I know they've
yeah.
been talking about woke. I'm talking about being, alive and your cells being alive. And when your cells are alive, how your body feels, how your mind functions from that cellular healing.
And we don't even think about ourselves.
No,
We don't think about our breath, for that
no,
matter. So,
no.
as in part of the book, The Art of Forgiveness, at the end of every chapter, there is a meditation. There is a yoga posture, because we really need all hands on deck when it comes to breaking out of this. What are you calling it? Breaking out of this darkness that we're walking around in. I mean, I feel like we're on a Harriet Tubman kind of movement,
Yeah.
and we will be able to rescue all of those who know that they're slaves. But there's some people that don't know they're slaves.
Right. Everybody can't go. Everybody can't go.
And if you don't know,
Everybody can't go.
if you don't know you're a slave, you don't even know
Right.
you need to
Right.
be rescued.
Oh my gosh, exactly. We were talking about that because I was saying to someone and using the analogy of because someone was trying to explain to me, well, you need to do this for so this person can do this. And I said, no, that person is just not my client. That's not my tribe. I said,
Right.
because if I was supposed to try to satisfy everybody, we all have teeth, right? Maybe, maybe not. But agreeing with that possibility, right?
We
Why is
came
there
here with the
brand
potential
of
to have them.
toothpaste? Why isn't there just one brand of toothpaste, right? So no, there are hundreds of brands of different toothpaste.
Right.
So
Right.
my brand ain't for everybody, and I'm not trying to pretend like it is.
And
It's for people
also
that
we
invest
we are
in what
going
it is that
to
I offer.
we are going to adopt the mantra, to those who understand, no explanation is necessary. And for those who won't understand, No explanation will ever be sufficient. Next.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And
But the
it's not in, and I don't say that in an arrogant kind of way,
no, no, no. No,
but
no, no.
but 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 you have to be. It's like all of the programs that have to do with addiction.
Right.
People have to come there ready and
Yes,
wanting and
absolutely.
acknowledging that I have a challenge. And when we look at statistics for our children, we have kids who are morbidly obese in kindergarten and first grade.
Exactly.
Statistics show that we will be the first generation that don't live as long as our parents. And that's one of the sad things for me, being the 11th of 13 children. 4 of my siblings have already died from food-related illnesses.
Wow.
4. And none of them lived to be as long as my parents. My dad born in 1912, my mother born in 1927. Things were tough for them, horrible. The Jim Crow South, you know, 1920 burning down of Black communities, the stress that they were under. But their children are not living as long as they live. There is something demonic that's happening. And I just got to call it what it is. When the same group of people who built this country, who were strong enough to build this country and work for free, are now dying at a rate higher than any other group of people in this country. It's demonic.
Well, what it means is that it's part of a strategy, right? Your value to me, because again, it's not a mindset, which is what we talk about. So let's call a spade a spade. So the mindset has been from an imperialism standpoint, which means that it's a zero-sum game philosophy, that the only way I can interact with anyone, anything is if I win and they lose. So that is a
Mhm.
zero-sum game. That is the whole philosophy that this country and the rest of the way that they have colonialized countries around the world. That is how that all went, right? If we're just gonna keep it 100, okay?
Yeah,
So
because
guess what? It's not
I think,
sustainable. It's not sustainable. Which that's what I saw when I was a little 18-year-old young entrepreneur. I said, it's no way that if every time you and I do business, I win and you lose, you're not going to survive business. So
right.
there has to be some shift. And if that shift doesn't happen, but let's go back to then why is this one community being targeted? Strategically, they were only valued. Their strength was only valued when I could exploit it for free. I never intended to have them be my competitor or
Right.
my contemporaries. So now that they seem to be strong in these other ways, and every time they enter anything, they dominate. Sport, we can look at, and lo and behold, if we really let them play the business game, really, really, really let them be get like really, they could really play that game too, right? So what we never meant for that. It was only if we could expect them.
And so
Never,
that's where the exploitation is happening.
yeah.
And
So then it's
and
like
that's where the shift,
can't
that's
exploit
where the
them, we
shift,
eliminate them.
say that again?
If we can't exploit them, then we must eliminate them.
Or make them the commodity.
Absolutely.
And so that's what we serve as currently.
Yeah. It's
The
another form of slavery. You know, we talked about $40 billion slaves in the, see, Miss Marshall, don't get me in trouble. I'm trying to see, I
truth is
really
just truth.
want to go on a full on rant, right?
Well, I think just sharing the truth.
Yeah.
And I think all of us who know truth and we allow fear
Hmm.
to keep us from telling the truth. First of all, our cells are keeping score. So we're suppressing the likeness of the creator, the light of the creator. We're suppressing that. And so when anytime there's suppression that happens, there's injury because I'm trying to flourish. I'm trying to bloom. I'm trying to expand into who I was created to be. That's why when you're pregnant, without thought, the baby is growing. And when the baby is big enough to come out, the baby makes the turn and naturally knows where to go, right?
Right.
It's only when we come in this 3D that we allow what others think and what others might do prevents us from turning as the baby did, prevents
Right.
us from turning and making this shift and
Yeah.
birthing what we came here to birth. I refuse to keep you, to allow you to keep me
Hmm.
from birthing. What the one who said, "Let there be light," and the one who is rotating the earth on an axle with precision, who gave me an assignment, I refuse to allow you to intimidate me.
Right. But that's mindset, and that's really what we,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That's mindset. And that's kind of the, the foundation of what I was sharing earlier. And everyone, just so that you know, I did have to shift my guest for today. There was a little bit of an emergency for my other guest. So Miss Marshall was kind enough to jump on and fill in the, but we wanted to also have this conversation anyway. And I don't believe that anything ever happened by chance, because we're talking about this as the foundation for a conversation we want to take around the country and around the world, basically, and set up people on their journey of healing. Being able to go through some of those forgiveness exercises, being able to walk away from a space where you've been able to be heard. You've been able to gain some tools that you can then use to help you begin this process of healing yourself, right? And so
And
I'm
what,
excited about that.
yeah, because I know, I mean, think about it, Dr. Stephanie. When you cut yourself and you see the body heal itself, you can watch that wound come back together and the right skin grows in that spot. It may have a little darkness for a while, but over time that will go away. See how intelligent the body is? If we would just embrace that my cells on the inside are just that intelligent. But
Yeah,
if you keep hitting that same scar over and over again and continue to cause injury to it, it never gets a chance to heal. So think about our cells that are bombarded with negative thoughts, resentment, grudges, anger, unforgiveness, all of those negative emotions. Our cells keep being hit with that. And the very organ that is responsible for cleansing the body, the liver, that's where all of those negative emotions reside. So if the body is not able to detox,
mm,
then you got all of this stuff running around the body, hitting your cells over and over again. And then the diagnosis comes because those cells are so injured. And you
that's what
get diagnosed with something. I don't know what you get
it's
diagnosed with, but they
cancer.
think,
That's one of the first things that Doc explained to me is he's like, listen, we have cancer cells in our body so that when we pass on, that's how the body decomposes. And so what happens
oh,
is how cancer is triggered is when something is dying in your body. So what is dying in your body is where those toxins begin to form enough of a colony that they start to kill cells. So then the cancer goes, oh, it's death. Then we're supposed to activate it to do our job. Duh, 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 right? So how did that death get there? Right. Oh, mindset. So part of the first assessment is, well, tell me back what's happened. What's been happening in your life, and people finally begin to understand how to connect. Oh, wow, something happened. So then now let me add another spin on it. I don't. Have you ever done Landmark? Are you okay? So Landmark, in a nutshell, has these forums. They were doing them around the country, and some people say, "Oh, it's like it's nothing like that." Basically, what it is it's saying, "Look, at the end of the day, something happened in your life. We had a car accident. However, three different people are going to say it meaned or happened a different way based on their lens, their perspective, what they saw.
mhm.
Are they all wrong or are they all right? Even if those perspectives are different? No, it's just from their lens. So the problem is Our brains are so fast based on what we fed it, our beliefs, our rudder, our values, what we've been socialized to believe. In an instant, when something happens, we immediately, it means X. It may not mean nothing, just something happened. And so until you interrupt that instantaneous type of response, you don't even realize a lot of times that it's your lens, and your lens
Yeah.
could be wrong.
Yeah.
Your lens
Yeah.
could be filtering out the if you only got your lens open big, you are not seeing everything that's happening around you.
Right. 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 And if you don't understand, as you said, um, part of the way you see things is based on how you were taught to see them.
Absolutely.
And if you don't understand that part, was what
Exactly.
I taught true?
Right.
Did I tell you about the lady that I interviewed? She wrote a book, and the title of the book, um, I would scream if I could get this dick out of my mouth.
No, no, no,
And,
no.
and
Wow.
so I was a little reluctant about even saying the title of the book before we started the interview. I was like, well, first of all, let's
Woo.
just talk about this title. Let's talk about the title.
Yeah, let's unpack that part, really.
So what she said made sense. She said, Shakespeare called King Richard a demonic ruler. Well, the nickname for Richard is Dick, right?
Of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So she said all of the colonization that's associated with who we are and how we think. I would scream if I could get this out of me. But
Right.
I'm locked in it. How do I break free? How do I it's just been it's I take my wig off to it. It's been skillfully done. For a group of people who have so few skills, they are skillful at manipulating thought.
Yes. Because, okay, so remember, if we go back to the Willie Lynch letter, what did it say? If I can control the mind, they will lock they'll put on their own chains.
Dot,
So
dot, dot. Here we
and
go.
then when I talk to people about mastermind, so let's take it to this level, because we've been doing a weekly mastermind,
Mm-hmm.
and I have had people go, well, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to, well, what is that? Like, I'm going, a mastermind think tank. I'm like, you don't understand that there are thousands of think tanks that are funded around the world studying things about you.
While you're in
And
line trying
you
to get a
don't have
fried chicken
one,
sandwich at
you
Popeyes.
don't have one or two that you're participating in where you're
Right,
even contemplating
right.
how to counteract what's being planned against
For you.
you. How
Right,
do you
right.
expect to survive? How do you expect to survive?
Well, let's just look at this. We are not that many generations away from being told what to do. And that was indoctrinated, being told what to do and how to think. I interviewed Reverend Jesse Jackson, and he talked about this propaganda and how even when he sees Black guys on the same side of the street that he's on, there's the urge to cross the street because he now believes the propaganda from the people who've killed more folks than any other people on the planet.
Yeah.
But they fed you the belief that Black men are dangerous.
Yeah.
When they would hang Black men in trees and take pictures with it, but they
Yes.
convinced you. And
Right.
then those who took the picture
Right.
was
Oh,
not
right.
charged, nor
Right.
any of the faces in the picture was charged. But you were fed to believe that those people, there's nothing wrong with them. There's something wrong with the people that got hung in the tree.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
because we've been told what to do since we got on this soil.
Yeah.
And so we're still being told what to do until we decide that we're going to step into our roles and do as the scripture says in Titus, that says older women are to teach the younger women. And when I looked in the mirror and I saw this little gray right here, I was like, it's teaching time, Pamela.
It's teaching time.
It's
Absolutely.
teaching time.
It's teaching time. It is teaching time. They are looking there is a shift. There is definitely a global shift, but we know that it's a spiritual battle. And so we see the shift from that spiritual warfare. And
Right.
it's the same thing. Everybody that is connected to source is getting an updated download on their assignments. And I think
I
that
do want to color my hair though. I'm just looking at it like, whoa.
well, what we have to do is in Jamaica, because, in our protocol, that was actually one of the things that I found out was that hair dye is poisoning our brains. Hair dye was poisoning
Oh,
my
don't
brain.
tell me that.
Yeah, mama, sorry. But that's okay. I'm looking into some products, and then there's some natural plants. So we'll work on that. Just don't
Well, but
poison
here,
that brain.
here's now that we're seeing all these lawsuits because of relaxers and how many black women have
I
died as a
already
result
told
of
you
relaxers.
exactly.
But it had to have been about 15 years ago. I came across an article and I talked about it for a while and then stopped talking about it because nobody wants to hear that. But in that article, it's documented that hair care products for black women are the only hair care products on the market without any regulations. Without any regulations. Why is it that we're taught so little of? We can put anything on our poor scalps and
Guinea
nobody
pigs,
cares if
right?
they're
Isn't
regular.
that usually what you call an experiment?
Yeah. So let me just tell you. Let me just tell you. When I do color it, I use the hair dye for men. Since they haven't tested it for me, I use the hair dye for men. It doesn't. You don't have to leave it in as long, and it softens the hair. Well, why do you put that in mind? So that's what I use. It,
Interesting.
it
Be a very
probably does not.
study
Yeah,
to see then the
they're going to
difference
take care of
there.
their beard. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
so their
Exactly.
stuff is not as toxic as ours. So if you got
Yeah.
to dye your hair, use the dye for men.
All right. Well, then that's a valuable tip, ladies. So there you go. Well, listen, I want to get back
Yes.
to bait and then
Okay.
also want to wrap up, Miss Lady. So, um, on the forgiveness, first of all, which we don't want to send them in too many directions. But if we wanted to start folks on the journey so that they are starting to be in the mindset. So when they hear that we're going to be stopping at a location in a city near them, what part of the forgiveness, where should they start? Where should they start?
Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true." So
Mm,
start in the mirror because most people don't understand the forgiveness that they're entitled to. We all can talk about other people that we have or have not forgiven, but we have to understand that there are things that we haven't forgiven ourselves for. And if you haven't forgiven yourself, then you're punishing other people with the same whip that you're punishing yourself with.
ooh, plenty of songs. I know one, "Man in the Mirror," and we could probably go down the list, you know, of those. Oh
So
my
that's the
goodness.
first thing, to thine own self be true. And then when you understand the forgiveness that you're entitled to, and I hate to break the news to you, but you're not special, any more special than those other people who did things, because we've all had our bouts with demons. And so while we were in our demonic space and we did things, we're entitled to be forgiven. So that's what
Absolutely.
I want people to do first, is meet the eyes in the mirror and really start to examine your track record and what you need to release. And when you start releasing all of the negative things that you need to release about you, it will help soften the blow and help to put you in a place where you understand the art of forgiveness, the art of forgiveness for you, the art of forgiveness for others. That's the title of the book. So you can go to my website, www.pameladmarshall.com, to get your autographed copy.
Absolutely. Someone just asked, "Hey, Kathleen, how do you forgive yourself?"
Well, how do you forgive you? Um, We were made by the Creator, the one who set all of this in motion. Kathleen, I was raped my freshman year of college and I had an abortion. And I asked God to punish me by never allowing me to conceive because I knew in my heart that having the abortion was the wrong thing to do. On top of the fact that he threatened to kill me if I did get pregnant and had an abortion. I just felt like I would rather take my chance on being murdered than to give birth to this child. And I made the decision and I punished myself for many years and I never conceived. And when I did conceive, I had a miscarriage for no reason. The doctor says everything was normal. So understand, and then someone pointed me to the scripture that says, when we ask God for forgiveness, God forgives us as far as the east is from the west. The Creator forgives us as far as the east is from the west. We were made in the likeness of love and light, the likeness of the Creator. But we came here in this fallen world. So there are things that are going to happen. Nobody comes here and not have to forgive themselves. So understanding that just releasing, that's done. I can't go back and change anything. You can't buy a round trip ticket to the past and change anything. Where you are right now is where your feet are. Remind yourself that that's over. What I have is right now and the moments moving forward. And you stop beating yourself up because the Creator is not beating you up. The only one that's beating you up are your thoughts and you reliving those moments. You're
And
free
that's it
if you
right
just,
there.
yeah, you're free when you decide that you're free. That's how you do it. You have to
Exactly.
simply decide that
Exactly.
I am worthy of it and I'm done. Because
And
you
I'm
know
done.
what? I'm done. I'm done. Because
I'm
and
done.
if somebody brings it up to you, what are you talking about?
Right.
Oh,
Right.
how's the
I'm not
weather?
there.
I really love that blouse you have on. Don't even
Yeah.
engage. Because I don't know
Exactly.
what you're talking about.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I
I mean,
think
not
the
in a way of lying, but
sure, sure, sure.
I'm not going to engage. I'm
I
not going to.
release that. I
I
release that. I
release
don't
that,
revisit that.
and
I really
and I
revisit it.
release you too. Get out of my way.
Exactly. I have no desire to revisit that. And I think that, and so the follow-up is to know what you're holding on to. I think that the thing is that so I had this exercise and this is something that I don't know if I may not have ever mentioned before that I came to very early in my life. So the funny thing is that my parents were my mother was 18. She was in her year of high school when she conceived me. My father was 19. He had just graduated the year earlier. So, like any young teenagers, they went to their families to discuss their situation and to get feedback on, what they should do. So when they went to my mom's mother, my grandmother said that I was going to be famous and there was going to be a movie made about my life and that I needed to be born in a private hospital because that was going with a private doctor. And that was going to be a very important thing. Like she was speaking who I was to them. Um, my father's mother, who now remember earlier I was kind of talking about my grandmother who had the third grade education. That was that one. Now, my father's mother, on the other hand, was one of the first Black women licensed attorneys in the state of California. But I didn't
Hmm.
know this because she hated something happened. She stopped practicing law and she became a teacher. Hence, when we talk about my legal mind, and so that's a whole other stuff. So, okay. But she said to my dad that my mom's mom was an idiot and basically that he needed to 86 that and whatever, but no, don't marry her. That's not a good idea because her mama crazy, right? Okay, okay. So over the years, my father ended up marrying somebody else, and I was trying to have a relationship with my grandmother, his mom. She never seemed to care for me. And it also was a lot about complexion because I'm the chocolate one. I was darker than the paper bag. So there was a lot of that. Yet I'm the same complexion as both my grandmothers, but they both had issues with this. So that part too. So anyway, it was leaving my father's mother's house one time that I was just over it. It's like I had been coming and visit her on a regular basis, trying to create a relationship with her, and she would sit there and ignore me basically the entire time that I was there. And I was young, so I would leave feeling so unfulfilled, like this woman doesn't. So I decided one day to do what I call as a death exercise. And so the death exercise for me is because I had also been exposed to death very early in my life, so I had to keep going and seeing people in their caskets. So if I can look at you in your casket in my mind, and I have no reaction to looking at you in that casket, then I'm complete with you. So then now I can remove you from my life. I can release you. If it is, I'm looking at you in that casket and it occurs to me that I wish I would have said, or I wish I would have tried, then I'm not complete. I still have some work to do with you. Right. And so I think a similar exercise like that, if you imagined in your mind and trying to figure out what you're holding on to, if you reimagined all of your relationships that you think are distant or absent from your life, and you go back and think about why are they distant? Why are they absent? Is there anything in those relationships that, rev up in me that says maybe there's something that I should do? Sometimes letting, the past be the past is the best. There's no reason to re-engage. And so you let those people go and you release them and you go along your journey and you do a different type of forgiveness exercise. You thank God for the gratitude, for the season that you experienced or the reason that you experienced, and you pray them on their way and you let them be blessed along their journey. And then you create a space for what's next. But you also give some definition to it. My next experience of X is going to be even greater because look at what I
Yeah.
learned about me. Look at what I didn't realize. Let me own my mindset that attracted that experience. So let me
Mm,
forgive that. If I don't like something about that, that's a mirror of me. Let me forgive that part of that. It's telling you, what is it that I think I'm frustrated about? Ah, possible sign. What is it that someone else is doing that's triggering me? Ah, possible sign, right? It's
right, right,
triggering you for a reason.
right. And the hope is for us to be at a place where our hearts are as light as a feather.
Yeah.
That nothing moves us in that direction of those energies that we even have to deal with. Because I was talking to a lady the other day, and we were talking about forgiveness, of course, and she was talking about the challenges, when people do things. And I said, but think about it. We're so in the physical, and I say that a lot. I said, I'm not going to become white because I'm talking to you, right? So if I'm not going to become white because I'm talking to you, I shouldn't. My spirit should not match your spirit if it's negative.
Right.
So if you're in your demonic space, I don't have to be a demon because you're a demon.
Right.
I can recognize that you are and not allow it to penetrate my aura, my psyche, the cells in my body, because I am responsible for keeping me well. And that has to do with my mind and how I process things. So if it's a choice, if I have a choice to create an award winning movie, don't make it a horror movie. Make
It's
it a good movie.
right. Correct. But again, it's assignments. It's assignments because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
person that's been given the assignment to create the horror movie that, may be a whole nother thing. Anyway,
But
we're
what
coming
is,
up on our
wait,
time
do you see
and
what she
you and
said? Wait,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
she
Yeah,
said,
yeah, yeah.
I feel like I feel as light as a man. I'm overweight, but that's you can do something about that as well.
Right, right, right.
It's a
So
decision
Pamela,
and understanding that this food is very addictive. So don't
oh,
beat yourself up.
exactly.
Yeah, we can talk about that another
Oh,
time, though.
exactly, exactly. So
Thank you, Catherine.
exactly. So listen. Listen,
Mhm.
clearly we have a lot to continue on this conversation, and that is why we're going to be probably coming to a city near you. So, Pamela, tell them one more time what, give them your web address so they know where to go to get your book.
Yeah, www.pameladmarshall.com. And I'm only going to be in this first phase and sending out the books in a gift box for about 225 people. And I'm really excited that we're approaching filling that up. So make sure that you get your copy. You can get it in a hardcover or paperback. It is a blessing. It's an amazing book. It's phenomenal. It
All
really
right.
is.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for jumping in so quickly. I love this conversation. We're going to continue to have this conversation, and I will see you real soon. All right.
Thank you, my sister. Take care.
Okay. So, everyone, thank you for hanging in there. I know today's episode was double the time, but I really feel like the conversation was a worthwhile conversation. And since we had to make a little shift, I had to give Pamela an opportunity to get to a location so she could join me. But as you see, we have a lot to talk about and a lot to share. So look out for Naked with Dr. Money coming to a city near you this summer. All right. Take care. And in the interim, I hope you'll join me again next week for another episode of Naked with Dr. Money at our regular time. That's noon Pacific Daylight Time. And we go from noon to 12:30. So see you soon. Thank you for joining me. Take care, guys.